today is plagued by a number of different issues. And if we take a step back and sort of reflect on what is the underlying theme of all of these different issues, I think we can agree that the theme would be division, a sense of us versus them. Although division has been around for as long as mankind, perhaps, I started to think to myself, is it possible for us to overcome this? Is it possible for people with opposing views uh, to come together and make room for each other? I was pondering about this question when I stumbled on a podcast by Dr. Emily Pronin, who's a professor of psychology at Princeton University. And this podcast that I was listening to um, was called Double Standards. So let me try a simple experiment. I'm going to tell you all about two types of biases. The first one is called the confirmation bias, in which we use information or viewpoints um, that are similar to our own to project our worldview. So, in the sense that we actively seek out viewpoints that align with our own. The second is called the halo effect, where we think that because someone is good in one area, that they're equally good in another area as well. And an example of this would be something like, somebody who's really beautiful is also probably really smart or likable. Now, let me ask you all two questions actually. How many of you feel you would fall prey to these biases in the sense that you would be biased against others? A quick show of hands, perhaps. Okay. How many of you all feel others are more likely to fall prey to these biases? Yeah. So this is what is called the bias blind spot. It's the fact that we recognize biases all around us, except within ourselves, our blind spot. If you were to ask anyone, what shapes or what is the root of your social and political beliefs, most people would say it's rooted in things like a rational analysis of the issue. But if you were to ask the same people, what do you think shapes the beliefs of those on the other side? Most people would say it's rooted in things like ideology or self-interest or prejudice. We stand to think that, our stand is nuanced and factual, but that of the other side is entrenched in being not thoughtful. We use different yardsticks to measure ourselves and others, and this is the double standard. We measure ourselves by looking inwards at our thoughts and feelings, but measure others simply based on their actions and behaviors. If this isn't bad enough that we use different yardsticks, to make matters worse, the yardsticks themselves are flawed. We assume that having the ability to look inwards or being able to introspect gives us the ability to look at our intentions and motives. But the fact is, a lot of these things happen in an unconscious manner, and we aren't really aware of the source of these beliefs. This is what Dr. Emily calls the introspection illusion. It's the thought that although we have access to our thoughts and emotions, we assume that it gives us some sort of supreme self-knowledge. This leads us to think that our behaviors are not as important as our intentions. We value our introspections more and undervalue that of the opposite side. This is called naive realism. It's the idea that there are some basic beliefs out there, and I view the world in objective reality, and others should see the world in the same manner. And if they don't, then there are two explanations to that. The first being that they probably don't understand it, and I need to educate them about it. The second, which is the more harmful one, is of just labeling them as stupid or biased. An expression of naive realism is when, say, you're driving down the freeway. You know how you always look at somebody who's driving slower than you and think, what an idiot. I need to teach this person how to drive. And anyone who's going faster than you is some sort of a psychomaniac, right? So, is there a fix to this problem of a double standard? Well, it's something we've known about all along. It's about not jumping to a conclusion. So just slow down, take a moment to talk to the other side, take the time to understand what shapes their positions and beliefs. There are a number of issues out there in the world that tend to divide us, things like politics, climate change, racism, etc. But if we can all be reasonable human beings and just talk as well as listen, there's hope that we can overcome this division and make this world a better place. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Fantastic job.
Thanks.
Now, I would actually say that would be a contest speech, except a contest speech has to be 80% original, and it sounds like a lot came from a book. But you did an excellent job. Okay, so timer, could you just give us 1 minute? People can give Nischal back his comments, and Nagam can write his evaluation. And you can use the chat to give Nischal back comments.